The modern Raptors are trying to reinvent the NBA with this positionless game. Anybody on the floor can guard anybody on the other team, but they weren't always like this. And the decision to go to this positionless game is probably off the back of a former mistake that they never want to make again. So in today's video, we reveal that mistake and what the future of this team holds in this positionless game. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans. This is Amateur Sports, your source for everything Raptors. So if you like the Raptors and you enjoy content in this sort of video style, make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Sports for more content just like this 4+ times a week. And you can help us on a road to 8,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for the support that you guys give me. But today's video, the mistake that the Toronto Raptors never want to repeat again. And to cover this mistake that the Raptors have made and continuously made over the course of last season, we do need to cover last season, but more importantly, we need to go back to the 2020 playoffs as well as the 2019 playoffs, if you can believe it. You know, we're going to analyze some mistakes maybe other teams made on course to us winning the NBA championship, because on that road to the NBA championship, the Raptors took down the Golden State Warriors in the final, who made the same mistake the Raptors probably made in the 2020 playoffs, as we got eliminated by the Boston Celtics. So what we're going to do in today's video, we're going to learn what that mistake was and how the positionless game is going to solve that, like it or not. Will they be the ultimate solution to winning games? That's something we're also going to dive into. So let's go back to the mistake. So the mistake is having a big on the floor in big game playoff situations. This one was kind of sparked by some people in my Twitch community on the Twitch chat were kind of bringing up how Serge Ibaka got completely played off the court in the 2020 Celtics series, where the Raptors fall in 7 games. But Serge Ibaka, despite seeming like he was playing quite well, I and many other people, I remember this at the time. I mean, the Celtics series is just seared into my brain because it's just so much pain I cannot forget. But in that Celtics series, it seemed to me like Serge Ibaka was playing very well, but he wasn't getting any minutes in late game situations. In the fourth quarters, he barely got any minutes whatsoever, barely eclipsing 3 minutes later in the series, and in Game 7, getting under 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, despite having what was probably a very good game. In OT in Game 6, there were 2 overtime periods. Serge Ibaka did not touch the floor once. And Serge Ibaka was a very good player for the Toronto Raptors, and we definitely missed him last season when we had to watch Aaron Baines and Alex Len play in the center position for much of the season. We were wondering why we let Serge Ibaka go. But if we go back to the 2020 playoffs, I can't show any highlights on the video because, well, NBA is going to copyright claim the video. So I implore you to maybe take a look. There's a better example coming up though. So for Serge Ibaka, when he was on the court in fourth quarter situations, the Celtics absolutely abused him. As we get to sort of playoff situations in the NBA, any sort of playoff situation, the game is played much more in the half court compared to the regular season, where it's played much more in the full court. And the best testament to this that I can find, I think that, you know, unfortunately, if I want to use the Pascal Siakam example, in the regular season, he's absolutely high flying because the game is played so much in transition. But in the playoffs, he's had to adapt to more of a half court game and being a lot more composed and a lot smarter with his play. Whereas in the regular season, the transition game, he can run in transition very well. I think the same up until last season could have been said for Giannis before he really figured it out on course to an NBA championship. And when we get to the playoffs, you got Rajon Rondo, who, you know, in the regular season, he's not really that effective, but playoff Rondo is a very real thing because of how smart he is. He has the basketball IQ to play in the half court, and playoff games are played in that half court setting. So for Serge Ibaka, he seemed to do a lot better in the full court situations, but in the half court situations where the Boston Celtics really slowed down the play, they would often try to isolate him on the outside. They would try to get a switch onto him and have somebody like Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown really blow by him on the perimeter. It made him a severe liability to play in the fourth quarter, despite maybe putting up some good numbers offensively. Defensively, there just wasn't really any place for him on the court where we could hide him from things like this, and we could not use him in those games. Proof of this is based on the stats and the minutes he had in Game 6 and 7 against the Celtics. Game 6, the Raptors won in double overtime. Serge Ibaka played 21 minutes in the game, was a -9 in the game, but only played 3 minutes and 38 seconds in the fourth quarter, where he was a -5. Now, plus minus isn't everything, but based on what I saw, these kind of fit the things that I saw in the game of Ibaka getting abused on the perimeter. This is even more apparent in Game 7, where the Raptors fell 92-87. Serge Ibaka, it seemed like he had a pretty good game. 20 minutes of game time, and he was a +6 in the game. That's pretty good until you look at his fourth quarter stats. Serge Ibaka played 2 minutes and 52 seconds of the fourth quarter and was a -10. So as the series got further along, the Celtics realized that they could abuse him on the perimeter. This is very similar to what the Raptors did to the Golden State Warriors in 2019. I recall Game 6 very well against the Golden State Warriors. Fred VanVleet was absolutely on fire, but why was he so on fire? The Raptors realized Fred was having a really good shooting night, and he was. But every single play near the end of the game, or seemingly every single play, and I implore you to watch highlights of this Game 6, and you will see for yourself. The Raptors tried to set a high pick and roll every single play to switch Fred VanVleet onto DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins, who was not 100% healthy and never was a perimeter defender anywhere in his career. I attribute a lot of the success of the Raptors in that series to DeMarcus Cousins' inability to play defense. The Raptors ran a high pick and roll for Fred VanVleet almost every single play. They ISO'd Fred VanVleet on Cousins. They allowed Fred VanVleet to create his own shot, and on DeMarcus Cousins, well, Fred VanVleet is going to do that, and he knocked down a ton of threes in that game. So I implore you, go take a look. It's very apparent in that 2019 Game 6, the penultimate game for the Raptors on course to winning an NBA championship. So what does this mean? There are two teams here in the Raptors and the Warriors who made this really bad mistake of playing their bigs in late game situations, but there are plenty of other teams who use their bigs in those situations. Well, I don't think it's any secret that the true big man, like I would say, not quite Serge Ibaka because he can spread out offense, but defensively, the true big man is kind of going away from these late game situations unless they're just extremely talented like Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, among others. You know, if we want to talk about these situations, it's much more profitable and it's much better to have somebody like, I don't know, just a mobile big like Precious Achiuwa on the court. And this is why the Raptors, I think, are really trailing towards this theory of the positionless game. They suffered through a lot of true center last year in Aaron Baines, if you want to call him that, a true center, because, well, the performances, they were not very good. But Aaron Baines was really good for the Phoenix Suns the prior year. Defensively, though, was he always that good on the perimeter? Because he got absolutely torched anytime he had to go out there on the perimeter early on in the Raptors season. As we got to the mid-season, we realized, well, this guy can't go anywhere near there, so we tried to hide him in the paint, was more of a zone defense, which just didn't really suit the Toronto Raptors, who fell apart defensively compared to their great defensive ratings from seasons prior. Khem Birch later came into the team, but even still, he wasn't the most tremendous guy at reaching the perimeter. But Precious Achiuwa is exactly what this team needs. Not only is he capable of going to defend the perimeter, he is much more than capable. In fact, the Raptors will sometimes send him as the primary defender on a ball handler in a late game situation. Now, we can talk a little bit about Precious Achiuwa's hands on offense. I think his hands, he's got a little bit of butter on them sometimes, but he is a very good offensive player. But he's a better defender for what he can do on the outside. The fact that you can have him defending guys like, let's say, Zach LaVine going back to the last game in very high profile situations. So the Raptors want to have that. Now, are we in a position right now where we can go make a run for the championship? Absolutely not. But I feel like this team believes that in a few years they are going to be in one of those positions. So having somebody like Precious Achiuwa, who is only 22 years old and is only going to continue to get better, having that as your starting center for the foreseeable future, where he can also go to the outside, is just going to eliminate the possibility of any sort of mistakes. In theory, Precious Achiuwa is big enough and smart enough as a defender to hold his own on the inside as well as the perimeter. So far, I think I've had my concerns about the Raptors not being able to defend the inside quite as well as I would like, and that comes down to Precious Achiuwa's size. But I think as time wears on, we are going to figure out how to do it as a team, but also Precious Achiuwa is going to get better individually at managing and handling those situations. And I feel like the NBA is trending towards this, where people are saying the big man is coming back. Well, the big man might be coming back in regular season situations, but when we get to the playoffs, any team who's smart is just going to toy with that true big on the perimeter in late game situations. You're going to get that big on the outside and you're going to send one of your ball handlers against him. If it attracts a double to get the big man off, then you've got a pass available. And in those really high profile, high stakes situations, can you afford to give up one of those plays? Can you afford one lapse where the big has to go defend a point guard on the perimeter and he gets absolutely sauced up on the outside. In those high stakes situations, you cannot afford that one mistake that could ultimately separate you from your opposition in a playoff game 7. So I think a lot of NBA teams may slowly trend towards this theory. The Raptors have already adopted this theory, and they're going to develop their current team under this theory, where maybe some other teams are going to have to adjust as they move on into the future. Maybe they have to adjust into thinking, well, we can't really thrive with this center. Maybe we should try something else. I think there are some centers in the league who are just so good defensively that their team is capable of playing and being successful despite their inability to go to the perimeter. But for a team who doesn't have that true all-star superstar center, that becomes a little bit of a problem in those situations. The Raptors are going to grow with this current crop of positionless players, and they have the theory that this team will be successful as a result of it, having 5 players on the court almost all the time who will go and defend anybody else on the opposition team. And it starts with having the center being able to do that. Not just kind of filling in a gap in a rotation, fully capable of checking up the opposition point guard or shooting guard because he can move his feet so well, the lateral quickness and defensive awareness is that good. So the mistake of having your big on the court in late game situations, despite maybe seeing what they can do offensively, defensively, it can be a problem. Is this theory that I have, foolproof, 100% accurate to every team? No, it is not. But it's something that I've noticed in the last few playoff seasons that needs to be addressed. Even if you look at any team, as they move further into the playoffs, as they get deeper into the playoffs, their center becomes less and less effective. The Lakers won the championship in 2020, but with that championship, they started JaVale McGee throughout the whole season, but by the NBA Finals, JaVale McGee was a DNP in almost every single game. Dwight Howard got some bench minutes, but not really any meaningful ones. So,
a little bit of an add-in here, but even as good of a defender as Rudy Gobert was rendered generally useless in games 5 and 6 as the Utah Jazz were eliminated to the Los Angeles Clippers last season. So even a elite DPOY level defender in Rudy Gobert can't quite affect those huge playoff games. This theory reigns true.
The NBA is adapting. They are trending towards this theory. Like it or not, this is kind of the way we are going. So what do you guys think of the theory? Do you guys like it? Do you not like it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that's it from me for today. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you're liking to support us. If you're still here, it means you enjoyed the video. Really goes a long way to helping us. Let's get to 250 likes on this video. Get back to that 250 mark. And you can subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. We put out at least 4 of them a week. On the screen right now is my vlog channel. I'm going to be going to the Raptors game on Friday and vlogging that experience. You can subscribe to that one with the purple logo to see that. And you get a post-game show on Amateur Clips, the best highlight from our Twitch stream from every single stream. We'll see you again next time for another video.